Dear God, thank you so much for the community that we have. We ask for your continued hand of grace over our schools, police, fire, service, and administration. In your name we pray. Amen.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Here.
Ms. Grazia,
Here.
Mr. Hamer, Mr. Scholes,
Here.
Mr. Smolik,
Here.
Ms. Simons, Mr. Ziegler,
Okay, and to the new councilwoman, Ms. Simons, make sure your green light's on. Get it already?
Mr. Schultz got me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to reading and approval of the minutes of the November 20th, 2023 work session.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
And
Any questions, any changes?
Mr. Council President, just wanted to be clear, even if you were not on council or present at the meeting, you are still permitted, according to Robert's rules, to vote on the approval of these minutes.
Okay. Ms. Simons, that means you can vote for the approval. Any questions or discussions, changes? Not at this time. Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Okay, on to the minutes of the November 20th, 2023 council meeting.
Motion to adopt the minutes as reported.
Second.
Matt and Ron, any questions, discussions, changes? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Okay, on to department reports. Chief Hutton?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no formal report tonight. I'll have that next meeting. And our new pickup truck is in service, looks great. It's all set up. I want to thank Captain Catania for putting a lot of work into that. And other than that, I'm open for any questions.
Chief, where's that truck going to be stationed?
Truck will be at station number 1, Kirtland, Chardon, and Eagle, and that'll be the shift commander / chase vehicle.
Any more questions for Chief Hutton? Chief, you still need the dash, or still waiting for the main dash on it then?
Still waiting on the console. The main console's on back order, so we've got a temporary setup in there for right now, but it's all functional and it'll be very good when it comes in.
And
When you say it's in service, you mean it's working, not it's at the service station. Good.
and for
Be bad.
newer people on council, what exactly, for everybody in general, what's exactly is that truck loaded up with then?
The truck, it's a, again, shift commander chase vehicle, so it carries a lot of equipment. If you open up the back tailgate, everything that you would normally need is at arm's reach. So your SCBA, your medical equipment, your AED, fire extinguishers, reach poles. And then if you go a little deeper into it, you've got rope rescue equipment, Stokes basket, all those things that we would need to respond to anything. Water, ice rescue, PFDs. There's a lot of equipment on the truck, so it will serve us very well. And it's got towing capacity that the other trucks did not have.
Thank you, Chief Hutton. Any more questions for Chief Hutton? Lieutenant Fisher?
Good morning, or evening, I guess. It's my morning. I've been on nights. I have no formal report. Chief McAllister will handle that. He's out of town attending training. So I have good news to share. We partnered with the Kirtland Fire Department Association and Divine Word, and we fed 55 families for Thanksgiving this year. Christmas season is upon us. The giving tree has been set up in the lobby. If anybody wants to take one of those gift certificates off of there and provide the gift, it needs to be returned to us by the 15th. We plan on shopping on December 18th. I believe we're partnering with the Senior Center on the 19th, and they are graciously going to help us wrap. And we plan on delivering gifts on the 23rd by appointment with the families. Other than that, I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Lieutenant Fisher. Any questions for Lieutenant Fisher?
When, Lieutenant Fisher, when does the chief return?
next week.
Next week?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Did we just have one of our officers completed some executive training?
I will finish that on January 18th.
Oh,
Which
okay.
cannot come soon enough.
Gotcha, okay. Very good. Any more questions? Mr. Fenaro?
Good evening, everyone. I need to start with a couple thank yous. As always, I'd like to thank our crew. Did a great job with that snow. If you woke up at 7:30 during that snow event, you've seen 7 to 8 inches of snow on the ground. What you didn't see is that snow fell between 4 o'clock and 6:30 in the morning. Our crews were in at 9:30 that night, keeping up with the ice. And when that snow came down, it came down in a hurry. So they did a great job. I'd also like to thank the Garden Club for the City Hall decorations and the swags that you see throughout the city. That completes my report.
Mr. Fenaro, are we going to be using brine this year again?
We are, and I know our residents got used to it, so let's do a quick lesson on brine. When it's raining like this, and it rained that night, we are unable to pre-treat the roads. It washes right off. If it's really windy, we can't use brine because the snow will actually stick instead of making the bond, not breaking the bond when we put it down. So there's a couple conditions where brine we could use. That storm we could not, and what's going on right now is going to be difficult for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Fenaro?
No questions, but a statement. That snowfall, Kirtland's roads were wet when I left at, 6:15 in the morning. Well, as soon as I got out of Kirtland, I can't say so much. There was at least 4 inches of snow through Chesterland all the way down into Bainbridge, which we know they closed part of Bainbridge on 306. So it was a nightmare driving south.
I appreciate it. And,
guys did great.
we missed a couple sections. So,
That's gonna happen.
we had the main roads were open. I know we fell a little bit behind on Regency area, but the crews got out there pretty quick.
No, I can't commend you guys enough. The roads in this area with that storm, the way it hit, were phenomenal. But I can't say so much heading south. That was not fun.
Any more questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Fenaro. Mr. Courtney?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'll try and be quick. The 23 streets, all the work is completed with the exception of the reclamite application. Due to the cooler temperatures, we're going to wait until spring to put that down. 2024 streets, Joe and the mayor and I are working on putting a preliminary street list and estimates together for that, so we should add that to you shortly, or at least more information about it. Old Town sewer improvements, the final plans and bid book were sent to the printer today. Project advertises on Friday. Bid opening is scheduled for January 17th. Contract award is expected in March, and the project should take about 6 months. In the Phase 1 area, resident notices went out on November 17th from the county. Bridge projects, no update on the 306 bridge. The Booth Road Bridge, county's finalizing the plans for submission to ODOT. The project is scheduled to start in early spring of '24. Stormwater projects, for '24, we're looking at initially 2 projects to pre-fund with stormwater money right now. The first is Saxon area drainage study and concept planning. This will be a drainage study in the Saxon Eisenhower area to determine what the stormwater runoff coming from down the hill is, and preparing some concept plans and estimates for a stormwater improvement project in that area. Drainage study should cost about $25,000. The second one is the Parkwood area drainage improvements. The initial pre-funding request for this will be for the site assessments, engineering, and core permitting for the stormwater improvements from Euclid Chardon Road to Beechwood Drive, and for improvements along portions of Beechwood, Crestwood, and Elmwood. Estimated cost for the site assessment engineering and plan preparation and permitting is about $93,000. That concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Courtney. Any questions for Mr. Courtney? Thank you, Doug. On to, well, Mr. Slapnicker's not with us this evening, so on to Mr. Lallo.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I don't have too much to report on for today's agenda. I did want to just provide a notice that next meeting I will not be able to attend, likely. However, on that agenda, there will be a couple pieces of legislation. Some of them should be the two different pieces for the MOU for stormwater funding. Another one is likely going to be longevity pay, amending ordinance 254.05 to reflect right now, employees get paid in January of the first, January every year for their longevity. But some of the CBA modifications, plus after discussions with Mr. Slapnicker, it's probably best to do it on the anniversary date, the employee's anniversary date, rather than January 1. So we're going to put that before council, and you can make that determination at the next meeting. You do have the collective bargaining agreement for the police department on this agenda. The current CBA expires end of year, so there's no requirement to pass it today, but I ask that you guys take a look at that CBA in preparation for the next meeting. I will be meeting with the fire department in the next week or so to discuss and negotiate the terms of their CBA. Hopefully, we can get a tentative agreement on that and get that on the next agenda as well. Lastly, new council members, I do ask that they do the sunshine law training. I know there's a newly elected officials training through the Attorney General's office. They call it the Mount Vernon Project. It instructs, newly elected officials about public records and really just what the purpose of their role is in the whole scheme of municipal law. So I would 100% recommend you do the Mount Vernon Project training. If you don't do that, I would. We've had a policy that you do the sunshine law training with the AG's office. I'll get you any questions you have. I could get you all that information. Aside from that, I don't believe I have anything else to add unless you have questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Lallo. Any questions for Mr. Lallo?
Mr. Lallo, I was watching the news before the meeting, and I had seen that Lakewood had passed a moratorium relative to the legalization of recreational marijuana. Do you think you can touch on that a little bit?
Sure. And the moratorium, I'm guessing, would be as it relates to either dispensaries or
city permits.
Yes. Okay. So the taking a step back, issue 2 was not a constitutional amendment. It was a statute or a law that was drafted and then passed by the electorate. The Ohio Congress, the Ohio House and Senate doesn't necessarily have to do anything with that. And if they don't do anything, it goes into effect December 7th. They can actually repeal it if they wanted to, or they could amend it and modify it. I believe they are considering modifications to the statute right now.
Pertaining to the
chapter.
growth, I believe, the growth part of it, I think.
Yeah, I'm not certain, but because there are potential changes, I don't necessarily want to address any moratorium or any type of prohibitions at this point. They should be getting their version of this statute done in the next couple of days. If there's no changes, then we can address whether the city wants to prohibit the issuance of any permits to sell or open a dispensary for recreational marijuana in the city. Because the law, I would always recommend against a moratorium unless you're specifically allowed to do it. The way the law is currently written, it specifically allows political subdivisions to prohibit or impose a moratorium on these types of permits, let's say, for dispensaries or facilities. So the way the law is currently written, it does allow the city to prohibit somebody from opening up a retail dispensary. But I don't know if that will stand with any potential modifications. So I just want to err on the side of, like, just be patient, let's say, and wait to see if the Ohio House or Senate issues any changes. If they do, then we could pivot at that point. If not, then we could certainly discuss if council wishes to impose any restrictions or prohibitions at that point.
Mr. Lallo, I believe we did have 3 put on back in 2017 previous to the
Medical?
legalized medical, correct?
I don't know the answer to that.
Mayor? Yeah, I believe there's three that was legislated. Was that 17 or 18, I believe? I don't know. Anyhow, I'll look them up and forward it over, so.
Okay.
Can't hear you, Mayor.
Whenever the medical marijuana issue passed, is shortly thereafter that city council had imposed a moratorium.
I believe it was 3 separate ones on dispensaries, production,
Okay.
and sales, I
The
believe.
3 different,
You're correct.
okay, types of,
Quite a few of the cities at the time had done, I believe were doing that at that time. So that takes effect, is it next week?
December 7th.
Okay, okay.
Thursday.
So, I mean, I could present, whenever the law, if the law is changed by the state
Okay.
legislature, I can review it and advise accordingly at that point. But if council wish to impose a moratorium, get the ball rolling on that, and if the statute allows for it, then I can have that ready to go as well.
With that, I guess so you have the medical right now, so I'd imagine you have the dispensaries for that will just obviously become dispensaries for both medical and recreational, or?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
So I think those are specific permits for the sale of medicinal marijuana. So they would be acting outside of the scope of that permit unless they
Okay.
get another permit to do that as well.
Correct.
You got to think that the state would like to sell more licenses, Joe.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They want their cash
It's about
grab.
the money.
Thank you, Mr. Lallo. Any more questions for Mr. Lallo? On to Ms. Zeri. How's it going at the Community Senior Center?
Good evening. Pretty short tonight, and I'm not sure if the mayor will touch on any of these, but following in the thank yous, our annual Thanksgiving prayer service was wonderful. Special thank you, of course, to everyone who came out to support this at the temple, and to Dr. Roger Rose, the director of the temple, and his team. Very special thank you to Sarah Jackson from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who worked so hard for months to make this happen. So it's always a wonderful chance for our community to come together, and in support of the Kirtland Area Service Council as well, who will be starting Thursday morning at the community center. They will be putting together and assembling holiday baskets for families in the area. So to those who have supported all of their efforts throughout the year, it is much appreciated by our community. I wasn't there. I did hear that the first Breakfast with Santa that Kiwanis hosted yesterday was a success for our community. And so thank you especially to Mary Sams, who took the lead on that one this year. It looked like it was a great time. They did a wonderful job of decorating the building, at least. Tomorrow night will be our lighting at 7 o'clock. So we're going to light up City Hall. The service department has put up the lights as they do always so well. So that will be at 7 o'clock tomorrow. I'm sure the mayor will touch on that. And finally, at the Senior Center, again, I've mentioned it before, but if you would like to provide a day for our random acts of kindness for our seniors in December, let me know after the meeting. Thanks so much. I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Zeri. Any questions for Ms. Zeri? Thank you much. On to Mayor Potter.
Thank you, Council President Smolik. Not a ton. Teresa took a few of the things, but that's good. Keep me a little bit more short-winded. Tree lighting is tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. I'd like to see everybody that can make it out here. It doesn't take a whole heck of a long time, but we'll have hot chocolate here in the front vestibule for front lobby for, well, whoever. But typically the kids get a kick out of that. Congratulations to the Kirtland Hornets for their 7th state championship, state football championship. I was at the game on Friday, and it was certainly another display of fine coaching and fine athleticism, and the culmination of just years and years of hard work by kids and coaches and families that support them. So it's not just a win for the football team, but it's really a win for the whole community, and it speaks to the hard work that goes on here. Watching our kids always with their hand down to pick up, somebody after a play is you don't see that as much. You see it sometimes, but you don't see it as often as you do with our kids. So, congratulations to them. I had a good meeting last week with Lewis. Spent a couple hours up here at City Hall just kind of talking about some, scopes and as we, some of our thoughts and ideas going forward as we get into the new year with budget. We really want to have some earlier discussions related to budget and capital. So start thinking about that. I know we kind of always say that we'd like to get moving on it earlier in January, but definitely would like to kind of get that process and get more involved with council before that first reading in February, the second meeting. So keep that in mind. And then had a good meeting with Joe and Doug the other day. Kind of went through a lot of our open drainage kind of concerns around the city, and work to prioritize looking at estimates and budgets and things like that for next year. As Joe and Doug both touched on, that we kind of settled on working on the Eisenhower project first, or sooner than later, to get the drainage calculations or drainage study done there, and then trying to move forward with the Parkwood drainage project, which we all know that has been an area-wide big issue. And before we do any kind of road paving in that specific area of Parkwood, Beechwood, Crestwood area, that drainage project needs to take place. So thanks to Joe and Doug for coming out. I think that was the day after Thanksgiving, so most people are off with their families that day, and these guys were here with me working on that. So Rhea Benton from Lake County. Rhea and I had a good discussion the other day related to CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funding. For a letter is going to be going out to Old Town residents. She's going to send me over a draft of that letter here soon. And we talked about a couple of the couple things to anticipate on her side for questions coming back from the community. So basically, the county commissioners had agreed to award up to $250,000  2 years ago for different income thresholds and levels for assistance when it comes to specifically to the lateral tie-in. So it will not help with the actual county hookup fee, but it will help with the contractor, that lateral tie-in from the street to the home. So we're talking about doing a kind of a Q&A after this letter comes out sometime in December, and then a Q&A with our residents at least one night or day, or maybe 2 nights or days, so residents can come up here, meet with different folks from the county, kind of one-on-one, and talk about the process, who qualifies, those kinds of things. And that'll be spelled out in the letter, but invariably there will be some additional questions. So thanks to the county commissioners again for agreeing to that award, and for Rhea Benton taking the reins on bringing that to our community. So with nothing else from me, I'm certainly open to, as far as legislation goes, I think we talked about it in our work session, but 23-R-79 and 23-O-80, I would hope that we could waive the 3 readings and pass those this evening. The other ones, I think we spoke that those can certainly wait for a little bit more discussion in another meeting, but the first 2 related to the safety director and the public service director.
Thank you, Mayor Potter. Any questions for Mayor Potter? None at this time. Thank you, Mayor. On to standing committee reports. I believe we've got all the standing committees were closed out at the end of in November, and there's no current standing committees. Any committee meetings you wanted to be established at this time?
2 comments on that with Sue and Julie. Maybe perhaps we could schedule a meeting with Lewis in February to hit the high points of the budget. I know it's a lot. I don't think you've been copied yet on 4 or 5 attachments that he provides council on a monthly basis. They typically lag 4 to 6 weeks. It's a lot of information to get through to understand the funding codes and all that. And if you're open to it, we certainly can have a finance committee dedicated to just trying to get you as much education as you can, so where you don't feel like you're swimming for 6 or 8 months in the process of learning it. So, secondly, what was I just going to say? In terms of, Council President Smolik, in terms of the committee meeting minutes, do you think that could be shared? Like utility committee met, it was always my understanding that it went to everybody else, but it doesn't. Right? And then same with the service. I think it would be good.
Oh, you mean the initial?
Yeah, because not everybody can
minutes?
make them, even though they're not part of that committee, if they could be shared amongst all the council members.
Yeah, that'd be no issues whatsoever. That would just be, Denise, would that be any sort of committee report, minutes that are done, as opposed to just going to the 3 people on the committee, just the little council as a whole going forward? The draft. The
No,
draft.
the final.
The final minutes.
You know what I mean? Like, I know
Yeah.
Ron came to the utilities, but I came in a little early and the service ran late, but I would have liked to know what was going on with the service and
Yeah, we could have them email
best.
all the council on the final, which they do go online then later on onto the website, correct?
I'm not sure that the committee
I think
minutes
there
go
are.
on the
Committee
website.
minutes
Well,
don't go out there.
I thought there was a few on there. Okay. Point taken, Mr. Schultz. Thank you, Councilman Schultz. So tentatively for the finance committee meeting then for,
Well, let me talk to Louis because
okay,
it gets busy for him, right? So given that we have the joint meeting the 16th of January, January 3rd, I may or may not be here. So either the 6th or the 20th.
So did planning and zoning confirm the 16th so we're all set for that? It's gonna be a long night. Yeah. It's an annual meeting, we do council.
yeah, January 16th, basically,
Planning and zoning meeting after.
PZA, Board of Zoning Appeals, Planning and Zoning, everybody meets together up here, so.
Okay. So that was confirmed.
Anything else pertaining to standing committee reports? Next up is correspondence. Dominion, okay. Okay, we do have correspondence from Dominion. Notice of filing, new PIR adjustment case, PUCO case number 23-1011-GA-RDR. Dear public official, on October 15, 2008, Public Utilities Commissions of Ohio, PUCO, approved an increase in Dominion Energy's Ohio Dominion rates and charges for service. In its order authorizing the increase, the PUCO also approved a tariff to recover certain costs associated with pipeline infrastructure replacement, PIR, program, and approved Dominion's request to assume ownership of and responsibility for curb-to-meter service lines as Dominion repairs and replaces them. At that time, the PIR cost recovery charge was set at 0. The PUCO approved Dominion's initial adjustment for the PIR cost recovery charge on December 16, 2009. Modifications to DEO's PIR program approved by the PUCO on August 3rd, 2011. Oh, you don't need the whole thing?
No, you don't need to read it. You just
Oh.
need to acknowledge receipt of the correspondence.
Oh, okay. Do you want to post this online then?
We can if you'd like,
Oh, okay.
but we just need to acknowledge receipt. That's all.
Oh, okay. Sure, I'm almost halfway through.
Such an interesting read.
It was a good opportunity for me to catch up on some emails while he was reading.
Basically, you're looking at a couple estimated rate increases. Looks like 1874 current rate to 20.47 per month, but we'll post this online then for the residents then? Okay. Okay, on to public comments on matters not on the agenda. Open up to the public for any questions, comments? None at this time. On to old business, which there is none at this time. On to new business, public comments on agenda items of new business. Any public comments? Okay, on to resolution number 23-R-79, a resolution appointing Mayor Kevin Potter as Director of Public Safety and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive the 3. Oh, you want me to
Amend?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend section 1 to read,
What was the cost we needed then?
well, I wanted to read the full portion. Just bear with me, sorry.
This salary amount wasn't included in the initial
So section one
resolution,
currently
so-
reads, Mayor Kevin F. Potter be and is hereby appointed Director of Public Safety of the City of Kirtland for the period commencing December 1st, 2023 and ending November 30th, 2027. The mayor shall be compensated an annual rate, this is the amended part, the mayor shall be compensated an annual rate of $5,603
As Director of Public Safety.
as Director of Public Safety.
Do you have a second?
Second.
So it's been amended. Now we need,
Is there any discussion on that?
any discussion on that amendment, adding the salary? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Then we need a motion to waive the 3 readings.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Any questions or discussions? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Okay, now a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Thank you. On to ordinance number 23-R-79, or sorry, 23-O-80, an ordinance confirming the reappointment of Joseph Finaro as the Director of Public Service and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
That was Mr. Schultz. Okay. Any questions or discussions? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Motion to declare an emergency?
So
Oh, sorry.
motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Second.
Any questions, discussions? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Okay, on to resolution number 23-R-81, a resolution authorizing the mayor to negotiate terms for the citywide broadband internet services. This will go to 3 readings. Okay. Okay, on to ordinance number 23-O-82, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association and declaring an emergency. I believe we were going to, we need to go let this go to the second one, but it does have to be passed before January 1st. Correct. Any discussions or questions on this? Thank you. Okay, on to council comments. Any council comments? None at this time? Not the continuing concerns? Oh, sorry, Councilman Schultz?
Could you please also copy all of council on the yearly legislative update? So the newer members of council.
Mr. Schultz?
Legislative update that I ask you every year gives us a whole breakdown of the ordinances and resolutions by title.
oh, the legislative index.
It didn't,
Okay.
pardon me. But it's a great workbook to understand things coming. There's certain things that are always kind of like cookie cutter, and gives you an idea of how things are kind of mapped out.
Thank you, Councilman Schultz. Any other continuing concerns? Not at this time. Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you much.